Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbender, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of I Have Something to Say. And today I have as our guest all the way from the West Coast, because we're based out of the East Coast. So it was cool to be able to coordinate this with you, Gautam Jagannath. He is the founder and executive director of the Social Justice Collaborative. And welcome for being. And I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Sami, so much. I'm really excited to be here. And let me just say, I love the motto of this show. So thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I know you have a lot to share and a lot to say as well. And I think it's very powerful, your mission. I was reading that you're a 501c3 and that you are focused on protecting the rights of refugees who are being targeted by the US government. I was like, bam. That is like powerful, pretty direct and to the point. And my question to you is, why? Like, what's going on? I mean, I know I watch the news and I'm very, in tune with the needs of migrant and undocumented populations, but why are you hyper focused on this issue in our
Yeah.
society, and what drove you to start your own organization in this work?
Yeah, I mean, we've been around for about a decade now. And, 9 years ago in 2012, there was almost no understanding of what it is to be in deportation proceedings. And, people just thought, if you were in a deportation process, you were somehow a criminal or you were wanted or something like that. And, that's just not the case. The vast majority, over 75% of immigrants who are going through this process, they have no criminal record whatsoever. And they're basically required, immigrants come to the United States, and if they're a refugee, they have to navigate an entire legal process alone, and they don't have an opportunity to get a lawyer unless they can afford one. And you can imagine how challenging it is for so many of our clients who have suffered so much to get here to the US, not because they want to come here, because they can't live in the country where they're from because of civil strife. And they're just unable to survive. And so they're here and they need help. And the least that we can do in a progressive nation is to provide lawyers for such folks, and that's kind of where SJC came in. We're one of the first organizations who said, you know what, immigrants who are refugees deserve representation. And they don't just deserve a lawyer who can tell them what to do, they deserve a lawyer who can say, I'm going to be with you every step of the way throughout the trial process and an appeal and everything. And that's where we are. We're here for that compassionate, full scope help.
I think that's just fantastic. And I know that you are a lawyer and are part of, the team that really supports this community. And I can only imagine the level of fear that a lot of these people and families face because, I mean, I feel like I have the resources, and just talking about having to call a lawyer, right, and deal with legal aspects is always daunting, and I
Oh
command the
my gosh.
language too. I mean, I can imagine people that don't command the language too might, the levels of
Right.
fear. What do you hear from
Yeah.
these people, right? The moment
Mhm.
you are introduced to them, or that you make that initial connection, what does that look like?
Yeah. So here's the real deal with getting a lawyer. It's very, very difficult. It's not that there aren't enough immigration lawyers, but it's very difficult to find the lawyer who wants to take your case. So many
Mm,
of our clients who come to us, they're in despair because they're exasperated. They have spoken to two or three other lawyers. Maybe they've paid hundreds of dollars even just to have that conversation, and that lawyer can't take their case, or they feel
mm,
like the client doesn't have a case. And there's so much misunderstanding that the media sort of has exacerbated with who qualifies for asylum and who doesn't. You'll see articles online that talk about people who are economic refugees, but there isn't such a thing in the United States. Somebody
mm,
can't get asylum because they're poor in the country they're from. And so, because of these misunderstandings and lawyers not knowing exactly how to help a client, and of course, lawyers charging a sum of money that our clients can't
mm,
afford, they're
mhm.
just not able to get help. So when they come to us and we tell them, by and large, yeah, we can help you out, assuming they qualify, they're just so happy and they're overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
it's such a great feeling for our staff and to just see the thousands of clients over the past decade that we've helped
Mhm,
succeed in their life. And these are folks who, they are the backbone of our economy. They're the folks who build our cars and cook our food and build
mhm.
our homes. And they are oftentimes forgotten or not thought about by a lot of us who are privileged. And I think it's really important that we this we're having this gala dinner in a couple
Yeah.
of days. It's virtual. It's our
Yeah.
virtual event, but it's an opportunity for folks to talk about immigrant stories. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of reporting about immigrants, but less about immigrant stories. Like, what are the stories of the people who
Yeah.
go through this issue? And I'm so glad you asked that question about how it is, somebody goes forth and actually finds a lawyer, because it's
Mhm,
extremely challenging.
mhm,
And it's a process that's filled with a lot of fear for folks, not just because of language, but because of the fear of rejection.
mm.
One of the worst feelings is to go into that law office and pour out your heart to the lawyer and tell them the story of hardship, and then realize that that office or that lawyer can't help you out.
Yeah, that's really the human aspect of it, right? Just having that sensibility to go above and beyond, what you read in a book, what the law states, and really being able to support the person at their core, right? With what they're actually going through. And
Right.
actually, I have to thank Emily, who's also in your legal services team, because she actually reached out and brought to my attention about your gala, which is actually happening the evening that we're airing this very podcast. And so just want to tell you that I'm really really excited, and I can't wait to participate because I already have my ticket. I already registered, and I want to encourage everybody to register and make a donation because it's going to be very, very powerful. You're basically going to feature untold stories, right, of America, which are the stories of the very people that are amongst us and that we just don't know, who they are, what they're passionate about, what their dreams are, what their experiences have been, and how we can relate to them, really. I mean, I think that that's the bottom line, that this sense of kinship and empathy, I think, is about to happen, with this event, when we hear the stories and are able to then connect at that human to human level, with people that society in general just sees as this outside thing, right? Like this outside group that, they're kind of like in limbo, and oh, that's over there. It's not my issue, not my fight, not my problem. And so how
Completely.
yeah, how do you view this, and from your own lived experiences, right? How did you land at let's just say caring so much, about this population, and being just so hands-on, and the founder of this organization that really cares?
Right. I mean, we were talking about your travels to the southern border. and going to some of the shelters for children. And I was telling you, as somebody who had grown up in the American South, the American South is this source of um, great strife, not only for folks who are trying to come across that southern border, but just for folks who live there and have to see the kinds of institutional racism that we may not be used to here in California or in the East Coast. And actually to be able to witness that, and as somebody who had personally gone through that as a young brown boy in the South, it kind of gave me pause, and it made me realize that, my life has to be spent doing something that could help folks who were not as privileged as I am. And I think that, the stories that immigrants can tell from all walks of life, from those who have privileged backgrounds and those who don't, are equally important in sharing the humanity of what the immigrant experience is. And that's why I'm so excited about this Thursday to hear from Mariana Atencio and Jose Antonio Vargas and Isabel Sandoval, all of whom have such interesting immigrant stories to tell and different stories. And I think the more we can humanize the immigrant experience in this country, the more we are going to be able to walk away from this idea of the otherness, which so deeply pervades the understanding of what it is to be immigrants. So this idea that immigrants can be, quote, illegal, or we can have
Mhm,
illegals, is a construct of this otherness. And here at SJC, we're trying to win these cases one at a time, but
mhm.
my larger vision is that we can also change our approach and how we think about these structures. And I think that part of that is the storytelling, a
Yes,
big part of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree, and this is why, we try to create this forum, to present these stories, because it's so important to, again, as I said before, connect at that level. I think that, sometimes people are guarded or or don't want to share certain aspects of, their experiences or whatever. But if we just open up, we realize, oh, wait a second. So yeah, I know what it feels to, go to bed without eating, right? I'm not saying that that's been
Hmm.
my experience, but I'm saying people in general, right? Or I
Right.
know what it feels to lose a parent, right? Or I know what it is to not know, where your next where you're going to live, or if you're going to be able to get an education and pursue your dreams, or whatever it is, right? Whatever that thing is that will make people say, uh-huh, I see you now, I get you. And a lot of that has to do also with those core feelings that can be the extremes, extreme happiness and fear, despair, that I think that that's where people can, feel more emotional and more empathetic, about
Right.
others and their experiences. And so this is the sixth year, right, that you're doing this gala. I'm
That's right.
assuming you do them normally in person, and so then it's
Yes.
virtually. Did you do it last year virtually as well?
We actually didn't have an event at all last year.
Okay,
Um, because the COVID situation was so
of course.
difficult. Um,
Yes.
and but nevertheless, with all of the challenges that last year presented with COVID at its height, we were somehow able to continue our operations remotely and increase the number of clients we were able to serve, which is something that I'm extremely proud
Fantastic.
about for our organization.
That's fantastic. So, on average, how many folks do you support every year?
Yeah, I mean, we will review thousands of new clients each
Wow.
year, their case, but we on average finish about one family's case per business day, just to give you how.
What? Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. That is
yeah,
awesome.
I
That
know.
is
And you
fantastic.
could see all of this if you go to our website and you take a look at our
Yeah.
annual report, you'll be
Mhm.
able to see, our successes laid out. And it's just amazing. I mean, we've got such a fabulous team of people who are
Mhm.
working so diligently after hours and on the weekend and,
Yes, I know. I was
prepping
watching
these
some.
cases.
Yeah. I saw on
Yeah.
the website you have some really great videos of lawyers that put in time, that give of their time to support your organization. I think that's just so awesome. And the way that they genuinely speak about how they're moved, right, by the impact that they're having and by how they're helping the most vulnerable, really. It's just really powerful. I think it's fantastic. How do you recruit these legal professionals? Because I'm sure it can't be easy, that's for sure.
It's definitely not easy, and we want people who are not only just good at the work, but folks who are compassionate and caring advocates.
Yeah.
And so our the best way for us is we always love to start with students who come in as interns. That's our
um
favorite way.
yeah, because
Um,
then they're
you know,
vested. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
and we're committed to this pipeline of new social justice advocates in the future. We want to be there training the next group of people who are fighting this fight. Um,
That's great. And so what does a good outcome look like? So you're saying that you close cases, right? Or find a resolution, one daily. And so
yeah,
what does that look like for a family or for a person that's finding support with your organization?
yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that because one thing that always kind of frustrates me is people who think that you can just immediately get U.S. citizenship. So
Mm-hmm.
like people ask like when can so and so get their citizenship? And it's such a long process. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's a process that can take over a decade. And
Right.
so winning a case could mean getting a visa. It could
Mm-hmm.
mean winning residency, which is the green card. It could even mean something as simple as getting a deferred action,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we hear about the DACA, the Dreamers
Mm-hmm.
getting
Yeah.
deferred action, and that deferred action is so powerful because
Mm-hmm.
it not only permits you to stay, but it gives you this hope of maybe getting something down the line if
Mm-hmm.
Congress can get it together. And so,
That's a
but
whole
our
other episode.
that's that's a whole other can of worms, and I feel like it's a whole other podcast that we could talk
Exactly.
about that. Um,
Yeah.
but for us, it's mostly winning asylum, which means our
Yes.
clients will be able to get a green card within a year. That's what that
Oh,
means.
that's wonderful. That with then also allows them to work, because for the most part, these are people that are just wanting, to live under better circumstances. They're just looking for opportunities to work and to provide for their families like everybody else, right?
Sure, absolutely. And many of them don't want to be here. I mean, I there's so
Yeah.
much there's so many of the stories of people who are here from, I talk about the economic reasons, which is just
Mm-hmm.
not. So none of the clients that win asylum at SJC can, have an economic reason for being here. But of course, they have to work and feed their family and support their livelihood.
Right.
And one of the things is, getting that work permit, and we're able to oftentimes do that before the case is won.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool. Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because we have a large Venezuelan population here in Central Florida. And I have a friend who came to she's from originally from Venezuela, and she came here, obviously leaving, right, the political turmoil, whatever, years ago. Though she's been living here for, I want to say, at least um 10, 12 years, but she came as a teenager. And she said that
Hmm.
in her mind she was going back, right, to, like, the idea was to return as soon as, because what you just said, that she didn't want to be here. If she, in a perfect world, she would stay right home. And so, but now, obviously, now she was
Now
able
things
to,
have changed, and
things have changed. She's
she's an American, and it's difficult. Yeah,
Exactly. It's very, very difficult. And so I'm sure that those mixed emotions are something that you see all the time as well. Do you stay
all the
in
time.
touch with some of the people that you help? Do you stay in touch and see them years later to
Oh
check
my
up on
gosh,
them
of
and see how
course.
they're doing?
Oh, of course we do, and but some of the best parts is to of this work is to visit clients who you've helped years ago come back and tell you how they feel, how they feel now and how things have changed in their life, and it's almost exclusively positive stories, which makes you
Yes,
very happy.
that's
And
great.
yeah,
Is there any like anecdote or story, that you could share, obviously without disclosing personal information or anything, as to like a situation that really moved you and that you say, wow, this is the thing, like we're doing this thing, right? And that really just like sealed it for you, that validated that the track that you're taking and that your purpose is there, and then you're like, this is it, this is my thing. But anything you could share with us in terms of an anecdote?
oh yeah, so many stories. I mean, I'm thinking about a story of a woman who was detained here in the Bay Area for no reason other than not having lawful status, and she had left and re-entered. So basically, she didn't have an opportunity to get a bond. And then
Mm,
I had negotiated with the judge, and this was years ago. I negotiated a release for her so that we could apply for a benefit because she had been a victim of domestic violence for many, many years. So we were able to apply for a benefit for her, and she was so happy. It that this is 6 or 7 years ago. She continues to stay in touch with me, and we'll communicate, we'll text each other. And, there's other members of her family who needed help, and they came to us. And so it's not only just this experience that I have with her, but it's like her whole life.
yeah, was transformed. Yeah. And this is the thing,
Yeah.
that's why it's important to know those stories. And so this event again is this Thursday, today, when we're airing this, October 21st at 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then wherever you're at in between, figure it out because I'm not good with the time zones. I'm not too good with the
And it,
time zones, but we're going to include the link in the post, so that way people can just click on it and hopefully
it's so
register to
easy.
watch. Yes.
It's just justice.ws/gala, and
There
you'll
you
get
go.
right
There you
there
have it. Can
to
you
the
say it
page.
again? Justice dot w.
.ws/gala.
There you go. Fantastic. Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to be very powerful. I can't wait to attend, and I'm so glad that we had an opportunity, to talk more about this. I think it's again one of those societal issues that go unnoticed. I think you were talking about that, earlier, about it's like this in like it's invisible. Like if it's not right in front of you, you just don't see it. And if you could elaborate just a little bit more about that so people can be more aware of their surroundings and and notice, right? When they can intervene and how they can intervene. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think like one of the ways to get involved or to stay active with these issues is to sign up, like, for example, our listserv and stay in touch with some of those
Mhm.
opportunities. Because it is so difficult. The government has the US government has created these intentional roadblocks to make it very hard for the average person to connect up with immigrants who are going through this experience. So,
Mhm.
like you, Sammy, were talking about how hard it was for you to go there and see kids who are detained, and that's
Yeah.
very intentional. It's by design, and it's the
Mhm.
same thing with clients who have to go to court.
Mhm.
Support people are often told that they're not permitted there, and that's just not true. That's not
Mhm.
true, right? And so, stay in touch with organizations like ours who are doing this work so that you can get more opportunities to volunteer and to interact with immigrants who are going through this issue.
Right. And create that sense of community and family that they so much need, because in a lot of instances it's about just knowing that someone does care. I'm sure that that's
Yeah,
half of the battle, right? To get them, to feel more at ease and that it's going to be okay.
completely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, listen, Gautam, I'm so happy again, that we were able to make this time to talk about these important issues and about how, the undocumented and refugee community, right, are just part of a system that's clearly broken, and I'm just so glad to know that there are organizations such as yours that are literally transforming lives and stepping in to do the good work. Thank you so much for everything you guys do.
Thank you so much, Sammy. It's been such a pleasure.
This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. We want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well. There's more to come next week. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to speak up.